What you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
I'm not.
No, you were. He is over here breaking down because he loves this child so much. So she hid that she had a husband before she met you, and you were engaged to her when she really already had a husband. She hid that she had a child, and she also hid a man in her mother's house when you came over.
In the case of Todd versus Foster, yeah, paternity court almost got canceled. And the reason for that will be revealed to you in a minute, but first, y'all should get ready to be shocked to the bone with Ms. Todd's diabolical behaviors while she was engaged to Mr. Foster.
Ms. Todd, you were suing your former fiance, Mr. Foster, to prove he fathered your 4-month-old daughter, Selena.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say he called off the wedding due to paternity doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh well, just as you heard it, Ms. Todd didn't seem satisfied with Mr. Foster's sexual prowess, so she felt the need to spread her wings and fly to a supposed friend who magically turned to her bed buddy. But y'all haven't even heard about Ms. Todd's messy affair. Let's see that.
So, Mr. Foster, you called off the wedding.
Yes.
Tell the court why.
Me and Miss Todd, we was engaged. The reason why I called it off was because it was one day, friend of hers, she wanted to go hang out, and Miss Todd told me that it was her friend.
If Mr. Foster was a close relative, you'd advise he do the same too. Coming back home the next day without any heads up after saying you want to go hang out with a friend is next level confidence for an engaged woman. Let's dig deeper to see if we can understand Ms. Todd.
I normally don't go through her phone at all, but her phone just kept on buzzing, and it was a text message, and the text message said, "It was good, I want some more."
I want some more, and Ms. Todd is smiling. Woo, she's got some nerves. That courtroom would have been all up in smoke if it were another man, but from the look of things, Mr. Foster is as calm as a sea at rest. Doesn't think violence is the answer. To be fair, violence really isn't the answer.
Miss Todd, is this true? You went out with a friend and stayed out all night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, so did you sleep with him that night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Todd really doesn't give a damn. That woman is right there spitting some really hurtful words, and she doesn't even seem remorseful about it a bit. Maybe she wasn't really into Mr. Foster because no one would treat a man they love or loved that way.
Well, let me help you get the details. Miss Todd.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had sex with this gentleman again, not just this night, another night as well?
Yes.
Tell me.
He came and got me from the house.
Just when you thought you've heard and seen it all. That's Ms. Todd revealing it wasn't a one-time thing. Even Mr. Foster didn't know that. Mr. Foster's doubts about being the biological father of that baby girl can be justified right now. The affair went on multiple times, so that baby girl could have been produced from either of the men's sperm.
Mr. Foster, I want to understand from you. When you initially found out Miss Todd was pregnant, were you happy or not?
Actually, no. I told her that you need to go find your baby daddy because it's not me.
That man has every right to feel that way. Ms. Todd betrayed him. That's an unfair thing to do. Yeah, he could end up being the biological father, but it isn't far-fetched for him to think he's not. It's simple biology in case Ms. Todd isn't aware.
Cheated with this guy more than one time before you were engaged.
Yes.
So how'd you get to the point where you found out she cheated, but you still asked her to marry you?
No, we was already engaged first.
So who's lying? Ms. Todd or Mr. Foster? Wouldn't it be fair to believe Mr. Foster? Ms. Todd seems like she would say anything to not appear as the villain, but Mr. Foster, on the other hand, just wants to get it over with by knowing if he really birthed the baby.
You see the wedding cake right there? That's on her birthday.
Oh, and there's the ring.
August 8th.
So now, does that refresh your memory?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you engaged when you had this man come pick you up?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Todd has proved to the court over and over again that she would keep lying. Ms. Todd wants to act all innocent when she in fact started the whole thing? Well, that's impossible in Judge Lake's courtroom, so let's get the result to put the case to rest.
Mr. Foster, you are her father.
Oh,
I told you so. I told you you was her father. I told him. He was not there. I told you. She looked just like you.
Ms. Walters isn't about to let Mr. Rogers go scot-free when he's supposed to be doing his duty by paying for 3-year-old Ryland's child support. These jokes write themselves, but let's see how this particular one came to be.
Ms. Walters, you claim the defendant was a childhood family friend who got you pregnant and now refuses to do anything for your 3-year-old son, Ryland.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that he is Ryland's father, so he will finally step up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Rogers brought his mother to court. But to do what exactly? Further prove he's not the father of the baby? Or rather, she play an emotional motherhood card for Mr. Rogers to get the upper hand of the case? That doesn't happen in this courtroom. Only the DNA result proves anything.
How do you know he's the dad?
I slept with another man weeks prior to even conceiving my son, and we did use protection. And at the time I conceived my son, he was the only person that I was having sex with without using protection.
Okay, it's about family ties. Such a pity Ms. Walters wasn't at the stand with her mother like Mr. Rogers was. Anyway, let's take a second to consider. Ms. Walters revealed she had slept with another guy, but the time didn't tally with her conception date. It's starting to get tricky, but don't worry, we will get to the bottom of this.
When she found out she was pregnant, we was best friends. We had been friends growing up our whole lives. Like, we was together, all the time. Not in a relationship, but we was friends. She texted me one day, sent me a picture while I was at work, and it was a sticky note that says 6 weeks pregnant.
But you were sleeping with her during the window of conception? Now, let's be for real. These people need biology lessons. Everyone is still waiting on Mr. Rogers' mother's reason to be in the stand, but before that, let's further see what the supposed parents of Rylan have to say.
Her dad and I were best friends. We took family trips together. All that's been ruined since all this has happened.
So the truth is you all grew up like brother and sisters,
Yes,
cousins, because I mean,
That was my home away from home.
Sorry to Ms. Walters that she had to go through it alone, but what was she thinking was going to happen when she had multiple sexual partners? Yeah, someone wouldn't be interested in catering for her needs. On the other hand, Mr. Rogers believes Ms. Walters was trying to force him to be a dad because of family ties. Nice.
I would have never allowed them to spend days and nights and all in my house because to me they were like brother and sister.
so you would let her spend the night because she's just like another child.
Oh, finally, Ms. Sanders, who happens to be Mr. Rogers' mom, is voicing her thoughts. These two families had a good run till their children messed it all up. But hey, why is Mr. Rogers talking like it didn't take two to tango? Mr. Rogers is there talking like Ms. Walters held him at gunpoint for whatever reason best known to him.
All right, I was not in the delivery room when he was born, so therefore my name is not on that birth certificate. I've had no DNA but DNA established the whole time he has been in this world. How am I on child support? I was out of town working.
Ms. Sanders seems to be really emotional because she saw these two individuals as siblings. In Ms. Sanders' words, they were like brother and sister. Little did she know that an activity that a brother and sister aren't meant to be having was what Ms. Walters and Mr. Rogers were having. Quite sad.
I know you didn't, or you would have been in court.
Well, 2 weeks later, I was on the way to the beach for my sister's birthday. Well, my buddy happened to be speeding. Cop pulls us over, gave my buddy a breathalyzer. He failed it, so he locks him up in the car.
Mr. Rogers didn't know better, and even his mama, who believes in him, didn't inform him that the legality of baby Rylan will still fall on his shoulders until the DNA proves otherwise. Oh, it gets worse if the supposed father misses the court date. Mr. Rogers found out about that the hard way.
And Ms. Rogers, you are Ms. Walters' best friend.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known one another?
22 years.
Last name Rogers.
Yes.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, ma'am, that's my sister.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Safe to say, Ms. Walters needs the DNA result clarity really quickly than any other person in the room. Even her best friend, who is Mr. Rogers' sister, also believes Rylan's biological father isn't in the room with them. Judge Lake can call Jerome now to check the content of the envelope.
Mr. Rogers, you are his father.
I'm sorry.
Both of you all burst into tears in that moment. What do you feel?
Your Honor, I grew up without a father.
Mr. Hodges doesn't believe he's the biological father of Ms. Willard's 1-month-old daughter, but Ms. Willard believes otherwise. You may want to grab a seat for this case because there are a lot of things to unravel, and those things are in fact not the best things anyone would wish for.
Mr. Hodges, you and your mom opened your case today because you both say the defendant is a liar and a cheater. You don't believe you fathered her 1-month-old daughter, Lillian Willard, and plan to prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hodges believes Ms. Willard is trying to force the paternity of the child on him, and he won't agree to that, except a DNA test proves he's the biological father. But wait, why are these two in court with their mothers? Probably there's supposed to be a part where their mothers settle their differences physically when the judge leaves.
Explain to me why you think Ms. Willard is a liar and a cheater.
She cheated on me and I caught her with multiple guys. She had one hidden in the room, and whenever we first got together, she said that she would never hurt me or cheat on me.
To be a liar is one thing, but also a cheater? To top it all off, Ms. Willard was caught with multiple men, so it makes sense that Mr. Hodges doesn't believe the 1-month baby belongs to him. We still need to be sure about that, but let's dig deeper.
You kept lying and you kept cheating?
No, I did not. I had a guy over at my house, yes. He was visiting because he was a childhood friend, and I didn't tell him because I knew he'd flip out.
Ms. Willard, any man would flip if he hears it. That is undebatable. And if there was nothing to hide, there wasn't a reason to act suspicious to the point of getting caught. And Mr. Hodges already revealed how there were multiple partners involved.
Where did you meet?
I met him through a family member of his.
She had one night stand with him, and I was there to comfort her, and we talked for a week or so. And
oh, you met her after she had a one-night stand with another guy.
Oh well, the relationship came to life after Mr. Hodges played the role of a decent man, but man, oh man. Maybe these two are just playing with the feelings of the people around them. It seems like they know what they are doing.
I knew that she had been cheating on him. He had caught her with another guy that she said was a friend, but yet he was hidden in her house when my son got there.
You found him hiding in the house?
yes, Your Honor.
Hiding in the house where?
In her mother's bedroom.
That's a lot to take in. However, we get to know the reason both of their mothers are in court with them. Mr. Hodges' mother wants to know if she's a grandmother, while Ms. Willard's mother wants to clear things up after doing the job of hiding someone. But the engagement?
You're engaged, Miss Willard.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So now that makes more sense. When your fiance came in the house, then you hid this other guy in the...
Because I didn't want to fight to start.
And Your Honor, she was already married when they got engaged that my son didn't know about.
Being married and engaged to different guys at the same time is just nasty work. Ms. Willard is in the cubicle in the red dress, showing off how much of a red flag she is. Something is not adding up in all of these stories.
Your only child?
No, Your Honor.
She hid that from us too, at first.
Back it up. So she hid that she had a husband before she met you, and you were engaged to her when she really already had a husband.
Oh, there are more lies than we thought. How could Ms. Willard have hidden the fact that she was married and already a mother to her supposed potential husband? Mr. Hodges wouldn't know that and still go ahead to propose to her.
Ms. Hodges writes to Ms. Willard, "How's the baby doing?" Ms. Willard says she's okay, her lungs aren't fully developed right now. And then you write, "And when is she due?"
More lies is all we can get from Ms. Willard. It won't get any better, so our best option is to know if Mr. Hodges really fathered 1-month-old Lillian. The faster we get to that point, the better it is for everyone.
Mr. Hodges, you are the father. We have the answer we needed. And it was actually the answer all of you wanted. You okay, honey?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Mr. Simpson would rather believe the dead Albert Einstein came back to life than believe he is Ms. Davis's 2-year-old daughter's biological father. So now this case needs some type of special attention and investigation. Will Elizabeth be Mr. Simpson's biological father or not? Let's uncover some details.
Ms. Davis, you say that after a rocky marriage and nearly 15 years separation, you reconnected with your ex-husband 3 years ago. You say Mr. Simpson is now denying he is your 2-year-old daughter Elizabeth's father.
So they were married for over a decade before reuniting and possibly having a child? Okay, so there's the questions of why Mr. Simpson would have something to do with Ms. Davis again, after knowing she's allegedly a cheat who would never change her ways? That's fishy.
Davis, what do you have to say about Mr. Simpson's assertion that you are incapable of being faithful?
Your Honor, I think it's ludicrous. He's being an idiot. I know that she is his.
Oops, Ms. Davis says her ex-husband and supposed biological father of Elizabeth is an idiot. It seems she knows what she's talking about, that he's actually the father. But let's hear from the other party to understand this messy reunion.
I've known 11 times that she's cheated in a previous relationship.
11 times?
Yes, ma'am. And
She's cheated in your previous relationship?
previous relationships, yes.
11?
Yes. And that's just
What
what it was
happened?
counted.
11 times? Oh, Judge Lake isn't the only shocked person here. Mr. Simpson should have lost count at some point. Maybe that divorce they had came in handy. But who will side with Mr. Simpson as he went back to the woman that did him dirty 11 times? That's messed up.
So, Miss Davis, have you been that busy? Did you cheat on your husband 11 times?
No, I did not. But yes, I did cheat on him. We were married when I was 16 years old. I was just a kid.
Okay, From Ms. Davis' explanation, she was just a minor when she was shipped off to Mr. Simpson's house to handle the roles of a wife. So maybe Mr. Simpson is the one to be blamed here. Why was he interested in getting married to a 16-year-old girl? However, Ms. Davis said something about being honest with him. This keeps getting weird.
What made you take your wife back after she cheated on you 11 times? Did you feel like she had changed?
Yes, she had kids with other guys after we separated.
Exactly, Judge Lake. If you knew she was a chronic cheat, why accept her back? What's the talk about motherhood maturing her when she was married as a teenager? That woman would possibly want to keep trying to live her teenage years for a very long time, Mr. Simpson.
And reconnect,
Yes, ma'am.
and you all started to have a sexual relationship again.
Well, yes, technically, yes. In the first week,
Technically.
the first week we were together, Your Honor, I had problems. I just came out of a relationship. I have my own kids. I've got custody of all my kids.
Mr. Simpson's reproductive system wouldn't rise to the occasion of being active for the conception of Ms. Davis' daughter. But Ms. Davis wants Mr. Simpson to rise to the occasion of being the girl's father? Now that's a twist right there, but the story goes on.
Mr. Simpson, what happened?
He was happy. He didn't seem to have any problems.
So you told him in person, you called him on the phone. Take me back to that
I told
day.
him in person, and he seemed happy, seemed fine with everything.
Ms. Davis is saying she didn't cheat on Mr. Simpson when they got back together. But Mr. Simpson has his doubts because sometimes history can repeat themselves. Mr. Simpson believes the possibility of his ex-wife cheating on him again outweighs whether he truly impregnated her or not.
3 hours. He's gonna think something's going on either way. I mean, are you trying to build the trust or tear it down?
No, I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, he's the one that's leaving and going and staying with his ex.
Oh, wow. Mr. Simpson was still caught up on his ex? And Ms. Davis was technically married? Okay, this is way past what the judge can settle by hearing both sides. Let's just get it over with by listening to the 4 or 5 words.
Mr. Simpson, you are the father.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Mr. White and Mrs. White being in paternity court while still together may be considered a joke, but there's nothing wrong with Mr. White wanting to be sure about one of his kids' paternity. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, you've opened your case because your last and only way to save your marriage and family is to prove to your husband that he fathered your 3-year-old daughter, Savannah.
Okay, Mr. White's reason for a paternity test has been established. Court documents say the wife cheated on her husband, and now he can't blindly believe he's the biological father of one of the kids. Ding dong, time for the judge to do her thing.
It's been rough and emotional because when it first all come about to where I had the suspicions, it was she was having an ex-boyfriend come over while I was at work, because I had neighbors tell me he was coming over, and then I started.
Mr. White seems to have a point to go ahead with a divorce aside from trying to find out about the paternity of the child. It's wild enough that Mrs. White was cheating in the marriage, but she already started a week after their wedding? We need to hear what her reason for hurting Mr. White is.
Have you been cheating?
Yes, but I have like abandonment issues because I was adopted. So like if he's not showing me the love and affection that I need, and I mean I'm not trying to like make excuses for myself because I admit what I've done is wrong.
This one right here is laughable. Cheating multiple times because of adoption and abandonment issues? Girl, there are about 10 other things an individual with that exact situation can do, but cheating shouldn't be one of them. There wasn't care and attention, and she agreed to marry him? Okay.
So you got married young.
Yeah.
And did you start cheating? Mr. White, when did you find this out?
I didn't find out for sure until she admittedly told me when Savannah was 6 months old that there was a 50-50 chance that Savannah wasn't mine.
Seemed Mr. White baited his wife into saying the truth. The truth is supposed to set you free, but the opposite of that is happening in the White's family. So here we are in paternity court, trying to find out if the innocent child truly belongs to Mr. White or the other guy Mrs. White has been cheating with.
Do you have any other reason to believe that your wife cheated other times?
I have text messages proof right here of the most recent is Valentine's Day. She went to another man's house while I'm sitting at the house with the kids.
Well, that's because you didn't even get me anything and you were just yelling at me.
Mrs. White doesn't seem like a woman ready to change her ways. She still cheated on Valentine's Day? Yeah, Maybe not getting his wife anything isn't cool, but cheating this religiously doesn't look like something Mrs. White just planned on Valentine's Day.
Oh, this is another guy. This is not the ex-boyfriend's name. He says, laying here horny, and you say, Miss White, I know, me too. And then you forgot the other O on two. That's okay.
After Mrs. White's side piece takes those grammar lessons, Mrs. White herself needs moral and ethics lessons. Mrs. White needs those lessons before her baby girl will start growing up and needing advices from their mother.
Miss White, why are you entertaining all these men on text?
Because he doesn't show me anything.
Always with the
He's
pivoting.
not there for
Always
me.
pivoting. You're trying to put it off on me.
No one knows exactly the reason she keeps entertaining those men, Judge Lake, because abandonment really can't be the cause of all of these. Mr. White gave a clear insight on Mrs. White's strategy. She just doesn't want to get thrown out, and that's a plausible reason. She clearly doesn't love that man.
Hey, please tell me that this is the only evidence you have. You just have these text messages?
I have pictures of her sexting people.
Pictures? I'm afraid to look, Jerome. So this says Happy Valentine's Day.
This just further proves that Mrs. White doesn't love or care about Mr. White's feelings. It's hard to work this one out, but we still need to know who the father of the child is, and that's exactly why we are here.
Mr. White, you are her father. How do you feel?
I feel happy.
Ms. Miller wants Mr. Rasmussen to move on as she wants him to stop having hope that 3-year-old Zaley belongs to him.
You're here to prove to your ex-boyfriend, Scotty Rasmussen, that he is not the father of your 3-year-old daughter, Zaley Rasmussen.
Yes, Your Honor.
While other mothers in paternity court are trying to prove that the baby belongs to the man in the stand, Ms. Miller wants to prove to Mr. Rasmussen that he's in fact not the biological father of Zaley Rasmussen. Mr. Rasmussen says she's only saying that because she hates him. So let's see.
Why is Ms. Miller saying you're not Zaley's father?
Your Honor, I believe it's just out of pure hatred. She just doesn't want me to have visitation. I drive 160 miles every other weekend just to pick up my daughter and drop her off.
So Mr. Rasmussen, us being upfront and stepping up, that he did contribute to Ms. Miller's hatred for him. Having another woman while in a relationship is grounds for hatred from the woman invested in the relationship. But we need to know more.
Yes, I was very mad at him for being a cheater. He cheated on me through pretty much our whole relationship. No, I do not hate him because of that. I lost my respect for him, yes.
He says this is about visitation, too. He loves his daughter, but you don't want him to have the visitation. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
More cheating than Mr. Rasmussen had admitted. Interestingly, Ms. Miller doesn't hate him for that. She wants to deny him access to Zaley for another reason, and that's Mr. Rasmussen claiming their supposed daughter on his tax documents.
I'm paying my child support. I have my child support payments right here, plus an additional $3 fee, plus an additional $60 annual fee just to pay my child support.
You pay $50 a week.
Just under $50 a week.
Seems Ms. Miller has some pent-up anger towards Mr. Rasmussen. She's not ready to talk about just yet. That man is paying the bills and doing all he can to see his daughter. But Ms. Miller doesn't care. She wants him to be out of Zaley's life.
I don't believe he's her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So explain to me why.
When she was conceived in March of 2011. He wasn't even in the same state. He was in Vegas.
Ms. Miller says her and Mr. Rasmussen neither had a physical contact or sexual relations at the time 3-year-old Zaley was conceived. So here's the bummer. How did Mr. Rasmussen know she was pregnant and felt the need to think the pregnancy was his?
Clearly, at some point, Mr. Rasmussen either thought or was informed that he was her biological father because he is paying child support, he's still driving 160 miles each way, and she has his last name.
Maybe Ms. Miller hated seeing Mr. Rasmussen pose as Zaley's father because he cheated on her. Yeah, no doubt. That must have hurt, but that doesn't give Ms. Miller the right to change her words and say Mr. Rasmussen isn't the father of the child if he actually is the father of the child.
When Zaley was born, you were at a doctor's appointment. I was at home because I had to work that day. I was at my job as a cashier. I got a phone call and I answered it. They said she was going into labor. I said, okay.
It's obvious enough enough that Mr. Rasmussen would do anything for Zaylee, from the moment she was in the womb till the time she was born, and even trying to make sure she's living an angelic life as a child. That man would go through the heavens and the earth to make sure his baby girl is safe.
Until about 3 months after she was born, one of his friends told me everything that he was doing throughout our entire relationship, cheating on me, going to multiple places to meet multiple girls.
Now that's a better and clearer point to understand Ms. Miller's pent-up anger and hatred towards Mr. Rasmussen, and most importantly, the reason she doesn't want him to be Zaylee's father anymore. But it doesn't work that way, Ms. Miller. Only the DNA result can prove if he is the father of the baby or not.
Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father. Miss Miller.
Be respectful.
I'm sorry.
Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.